In this video, we're going to talk about fluid designs, in which we set the width using percentages. You can mix these percentages with fixed widths in pixels, and that's called an elastic design. You can download the page I'm using in this tutorial below to follow along. First, let's see what the page looks like. At a standard browser size, it looks pretty much like the layout we created in Lesson 7. Make the window smaller, however, and you'll notice a couple of things. 1. The text reshuffles, and 2. The sidebar div moves to a line below. The footer even changes size depending on the size of the browser window. This is responsive design in that it responds to the size of the browser window. Although I should point out that that term usually refers more precisely to using JavaScript to resize. The advantage of a layout like this is no matter what the size, your content will fill the page to a degree. The disadvantage is, if you're a perfectionist, it won't always look exactly the same. So let's check out what's happening in the code. I'll go through rule by rule in the CSS. We have a wrapper that surrounds all the other layout elements, but instead of giving it a fixed width like in Lesson 7, we've only set a min width and a max width. See how the browser window won't let you go below 400 pixels? I've also set a font family in the wrapper, which you'll remember will cascade down through the elements. For the header, I've made the height exactly 120 pixels, but the width I've set at 100%. That means it's always going to be as wide as its parent element, which in this case is the wrapper. I've also added an overflow, hidden, property, and value. This means that if I size the window in a way that pushes the text past 120 pixels high, it will hide whatever spills over. I've written a compound selector for the header h2 tag to make it bigger by setting the percent to 200%. When you're working with percent for font size, I think the best advice I can give is just to check it using trial and error until it looks the size you want it to. The section is floating left and is 75% as wide as its parent tag. Again, that's the wrapper. There's a margin on the right, too. Now, I set the size of the sidebar very specifically in pixels and added a background color and some padding. It's okay to be elastic and mix percents and fixed widths. See how the size of the box never changes? Now watch what happens when I change that fixed width to 20%. It shrinks to a weird size if the browser window is too small. Okay, so I'll change back to that fixed width for the sidebar. The footer has a clear both property and value, and I've added a border on all 4 sides. I've also added padding, and I've listed all 4 sides in the property value. If this is something you want to do for padding or margin, the way it works is the value starts on the top, then goes to the right, then the bottom, and then the left. You'll also see I created a class, which I applied via a span tag to the quote within the paragraph tag. Finally, I changed the link style. I remember when I first learned about fixed, fluid, and elastic layouts, and I remember thinking, this is really confusing, and I don't really get it. That's okay. If you like doing this kind of coding, the value will come into focus with practice. And if not, it's good to know these options are out there if you're working with a template or even hiring a designer to build your site.